Yes, you read that title correctly. My buyer almost bought a lemon until their superhero agent stepped in and saved the day. In this video, we are going to talk about the importance of hiring a home inspector, and I'm going to share you some horrific examples you do not want to find yourself in. I'm going to do it right now. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you love the content of this video, please consider subscribing. It really helps getting my videos out there to all buyers and sellers that are looking to buy or sell property in Georgia. Listen, when you're buying a property in Georgia, or in any state for that matter, it is so important to hire a professional, a really good home inspector, to inspect every corner of your home to uncover any defects before you get to the closing table and the key is placed in your hand. For most buyers, this is perhaps the most expensive purchase they will ever make in their life. It just makes sense for you to have a home inspector come in and check every nook and cranny that they can observe or that they can get to make sure there is no issues. Typically take them anywhere from 3 to 4 hours, depending on the square footage of the home. And then at the end of the inspection, my inspectors particularly will sit with me and my buyers at the home and do a summary report of what they've seen. If they uncover anything huge and major, the inspector will walk me and my buyer through it to explain what was wrong. And then at the end of the day, perhaps first thing the next morning, he will submit a comprehensive report. Let me tell you why this report is very important. 3 reasons. Reason number 1, I like it, and it's really simple. It outlines everything that is possibly wrong with the home, down to the minute detail where the door stopper is missing, or where there's a little scratch on the countertop, or there is a little or there's nail poking through the corner of the room where the carpet was laid. So things like that may not be major, but it's good to have. When you finally move into the home, you can go through the list and says, hey, while I did not ask the seller to fix these issues, at least I have a list, kind of a to-do list that I can go back and fix myself to make sure that everything is in good working order. The purpose of the inspection is to uncover major issues, but it's also nice that we can keep mediation begins, or shall I say renegotiation begins, because if the seller doesn't feel that they need to fix it, or that they have the time to fix it, or even the finances to fix it, given that it's not a major issue, you can renegotiate the price of the home. You can renegotiate seller concession. And that is very helpful to your bottom line. For example, if the roof needs to be replaced and it's going to cost you about $15,000 to $20,000 to replace, you can, if it's appropriate and it makes sense, ask the seller to pay seller concessions out of their proceeds to you, the buyer. Now, lastly, this is the biggie. This is the biggie. This is where I had mentioned earlier in this video about how my buyer almost bought a lemon. Let me tell you this. One of the biggest reasons you want to hire a home inspector is so that you can have them uncover hidden defects that you cannot see. Let me give you several examples of how hiring a home inspector saved my client. Hiring a home inspector saved them from having huge headaches later on down the line. One of my buyers, about a year ago, he is a very conscientious homeowner, let's put it that way. He's very handy around the home, and he owns several investment properties. And so he feels that he is good enough to be able to do the inspection himself. I wasn't thrilled about that idea. However, my buyer insisted. So I said, okay, let's try this. Even though in the beginning, I begged him to please hire a home inspector because a home inspector is trained to look for stuff. Well, he didn't. He did his home inspection alone and he found a little things here and there that he wanted to fix. The seller agreed and we closed. A month later, he called me. Hasna, there is a dip in my backyard and it is wet and it's soft. Of course, being concerned, I said, have you called somebody to come and look at it? Have you called a plumber? Somebody? He said, yes. They uncovered a leak behind one of the walls in the basement that leads out to the yard. And now we have a leak in the home, a hidden defect, and it went underneath the foundation to the yard. And the expense to get that fixed was huge, huge. Of course, I felt bad for my buyer. I really felt bad for him. And as gently as I could, I reminded him that in future purchases, he needs to hire a home inspector because I can guarantee you, a home inspector will find that defect. Now here in Georgia, to just share another example, if you are within the city limits, usually you use the public sewer for the city. When you go out of the city limits, further back, especially in communities that have large lots, usually homes are located on a septic tank, right? There's septic system to support the plumbing for the home. And one of my buyers bought such a home in Canton, Georgia. And we made sure that he hired not only a home inspector, that we also hired a septic inspector that would inspect the septic tank and the drain field to make sure everything's working properly. Fortunately for us that we did that, because when the septic inspector came to inspect the home, he found out that the septic tank was so full. Not only was it full, the waste in the septic tank had solidified. I mean, he took a picture of him after he pulled up the cover to the septic tank in the backyard, that he was able to stand on the waste. It had solidified. Oh my gosh. That means the entire septic tank needs to be removed, and perhaps the drain field in the back needs to be replaced. It was a mess, but luckily we found it out during the due diligence period and during the inspection period. And it saved my client, just for the septic tank alone, $10,000. Oh my gosh. Can you see now why it's important to listen to your realtor and to hire an inspector to inspect not only the home, but if you have a septic tank, the septic. Now let's talk about the lemon that my buyer almost bought. It's very important when you're working with a real estate agent that your agent have access to awesome vendors, as I do. I trust my home inspector. I have used him many, many times. I know he's thorough. I know that if there's anything wrong with the house, he is going to find it. We went under contract. My buyers went under contract rather, for a home that's 2 years old in an awesome community with a great builder. And of course, we hired a home inspector, the best home inspector on my books, my preferred inspector. And he uncovered, get this, the home is 2 years old. He uncovered that the trusses in the attic were broken. Not only was it broken, it was missing, as you can see in this picture. And what is worse, the seller's home inspector who bought the home 2 years ago, missed it. The county inspector who inspected the home in the process of it being built, missed it. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that. I cannot believe that both inspectors missed it. Thus, hiring a home inspector that is good, that is qualified, that have eyes for details, that have the patience, that will crawl into every nook and cranny to look and to see if there's any defect. Needless to say, sellers were shocked, and we had to terminate the contract because not because the seller doesn't want to fix it, but because my buyer has a timeline as to when they need to be ready to close and move because they're coming from out of state. So all of this to say, and I know I feel like I'm repeating myself, please, 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 when buying a home, when making the largest purchase of your life perhaps, that you ensure that everything is working well by having it inspected during the due diligence period and before you get to the closing table and the keys gets in your hands. As always, I hope that you find this information helpful to you. And if I could be of any assistance to you, if you're thinking about moving to Georgia from out of state, I am your premier out-of-state real estate agent working here in Georgia, and I would love to help you.